Hi everyone. So today's video, what I want to talk about is 5 steps to fixing cash flow issues in your business. Right now, the economy is tricky. It was last year as well. Based on what's going on in the news, it might be for a little bit while longer. And quite understandably, your business may actually be experiencing cash flow issues for multiple reasons. And what I wanted to do was go through a step-by-step guide on how to actually address cash flow issues and start working your way through resolving them so you end up with a healthy, profitable, cash-rich business afterwards. I think everyone knows how cash flow issues work. You literally just run out of cash. But what I'm going to look at is the causes and the solutions in this video. It will be slightly longer, but I'm going to be concise and get through it quickly. The first step in fixing cash flow issues in business is look at payment terms. Not all businesses offer payment terms like ours. Most of our clients are in monthly subscription. That's great for us. But if you're the kind of business where you invoice the customer after you've done some work and then they take 30 days to pay you, they might take 60 days to pay you, they might take 90 days to pay you, that can be a lot of pressure on your business. If you've been paying your suppliers and your subcontractors and other costs out before you even get paid by your customers, you're a huge amount of risk, partly because of the strain it puts on your cash flow, but also if that customer goes bust. So now I'm talking about a situation where your business is under so much cash flow pressure that it may go bust itself. So you've got to take the mindset, what have I got to lose? And that's where you've got to start pushing back on suppliers and customers and making sure, especially customers really, making sure that they are paying the part before a job's done, part afterwards. Getting them set up on things like direct debit. So actually when the due date has come, you can just take the payment automatically. You're not relying on their purchase ledger team to make the payment and having to do loads of chasing for it. If you're in a poor cash flow position as a business, you just take the view you've got nothing to lose. A lot of business owners talk about how much value they add to their clients, what a great job they do for their clients, but then they can't admit that actually, if they just took away the payment terms element, they would still have that customer. You do such a good job for a customer, then they will tolerate having payment terms restricted because they'd rather have the job done well than have those payment terms. They can get payment terms from a bank, maybe they can't. But then if they can't get them from the bank, should you really be doing them for business with them in the first place? But a lot of businesses, they can put their foot down. They just don't realize it when it comes to payment terms. The second one is pricing. One of the biggest causes of cash flow is people just aren't charging the right amount. And they might start the business charging the right amount because when the business is small, costs are lower, but also mainly the costs are lower when they start the business. And if they weren't making a profit at the beginning of the business, they may not choose to continue that business. So what happens is over time, these costs go up, but the pricing is not readjusted. And sometimes it might be that the scope of what they're offering their customers has changed to the point where actually it takes more time to deliver, it adds more value, but the pricing hasn't been adjusted. Number 2 on that list is just review the pricing. And once again, if your business is in cash flow pressure and it could go bust, then you've literally got nothing to lose. You'll lose those customers anyway if it goes bust. So you might as well actually put the price up to the level you need the price to be. Obviously work that out carefully first or get an accountant to help you. But you're better off just charging what you need to charge. And then you might lose some of those customers, but you might keep most of those customers. Usually people keep most of their customers if the price change isn't so drastic, like 100%. Although I know people that have done 100% price increases and they lost most of their customers, but ones they did keep paid enough margin for them to make more money overall. So that's always something to factor in. You're not always, sometimes losing a customer because you're charging the right amount, it's not the worst thing in the world. That takes me to the third point. Once you have fixed your pricing and you know how many customers you've got left and how many customers you're likely to attract at the new price, it might be more. Sometimes people want reassuringly expensive. But then you can actually have a look at your costs and then see if the cost structure you've got is appropriate for the size of business that you have and are likely to have. And if it's not, then sometimes you have to make tough decisions. You have to lower those costs. Ideally, you want to maintain value over cheapness. That means you don't want to just move to the cheapest supplier. You don't just want the cheapest members of staff. You want the ones that are going to add the most value and give you the best long-term gain. But that's going to be balanced with cost. Sometimes other strategies can be involved, like delaying pay increases, or just reviewing like bonuses, things like that. And obviously, like software or all the things your business might have that's not using, that kind of stuff. And then number 4 is you got to look at how much money you are taking out of the business. Being realistic, you need to take money out of your business to feed your family, put a roof over your head, and pay for other important things. But quite often, seeing businesses that are under a lot of pressure because the business owner didn't have the right personal financial discipline, and they were actually wasting quite a lot of money. Maybe it was situations where they hadn't consolidated their debt, so they're paying way too much out on interest. Maybe it was situations where they had a lifestyle that they couldn't really sustain in the long term, and they just hadn't admitted it yet. It could just be they just had no awareness of how much money they were spending versus what they were bringing in. And what would happen is they were then forced in a position where they had to take more and more money out of their business, when actually a few subtle or reasonable changes in their personal lifestyle and private situation would have put less pressure on their business. Number 4, that is a really important one. And then number 5, only if it's absolutely necessary, get the right kind of funding. And when I talk about the right kind of funding, Funding Circle is very prominently targeting small businesses. Be very careful about that one. The hidden charges and interest rates are astronomical. But you've tried to fix all those other things, and then you still can't quite balance the books. But at that point, you have a good understanding of what that cash gap is. Then that's a point you can pick the right kind of funding to plug that gap. If that gap is a short gap, just while your business gets back on its feet and you start feeling the benefit of all that other stuff you've done, fair enough. You might just need a short-term overdraft. You might just need a short-term loan. You might decide to get a personal loan instead of a business loan because it's quicker, easier, with a lower interest rate, and knowing full well, based on all the changes you made, your business can pay it back to you. Or you might decide to get a business loan, and if you end up in quite a dire situation, you may have to get a credit card or something like that. But the key thing is to put careful consideration into the type of loan that you get, because if you get the wrong kind of loan for a business or wrong kind of funding for a business, it can cripple you forever. It can put you into a position where it's almost impossible to recover from it. A lot of time, business owners just look at the interest rates, but they don't actually think about the repayment schedule of the initial principal, which can put so much cash flow pressure on. If you borrow 150 grand, that's going to be paid back over 6 years. That is very difficult to actually recover from. So that's it. I'm just going to do a quick recap. So firstly, get your payment terms right and fix those. Secondly, get your pricing right and fix that. Thirdly, get your cost base to the right point, but by making responsible decisions that will give you more cash in the short term but won't overly impact your long-term growth. Fourthly, get your personal finances right by being realistic, but also being disciplined so you put less pressure on your business. And then number 5, get the right kind of funding only if you need to, only if you absolutely must. If you found this video useful, if you need someone to help you through this kind of cash flow issue and get the forecasting done and create an action plan, get in touch. And then I'll see you in the next video.